go ahead and mute my side of things. And hopefully you guys can still hear me and everything's still working okay. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to build a chatbot using Amazon Lex. And we've talked a little bit about this in other broadcasts, but this is going to be a little more complete. It's going to be kind of a tour of the service as a whole. And hopefully you guys are going to be able to see a ton of cool stuff from it. So I'm just hopping over to Twitch really fast to make sure everything's working. Takes a couple seconds just to make sure the setup is right and all the other fun stuff. And it looks like we're live. It looks like everything is working. So if you guys don't mind throwing a quick message in the chat, I can hear and see you okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Christopher. All right. So what is Amazon Lex? So Lex is a chatbot service, and it's kind of like a chatbot brain service in that it's not just going to give you the ability to build the basic interactions of your chatbot. It's also going to build a lot of the machine learning models that are necessary in order to figure out the natural language processing component of a chatbot. So a lot of chatbots today, like Whobot and things like that, they only respond to specific commands. They only look at specific commands. They're not designed for conversational interaction. Whereas Lex and Alexa are both designed for more conversational interaction. And what Lex does, it takes the power of that Alexa SDK and allows you to use it in a lot of other channels, whether that's a Facebook Messenger bot or a Twilio bot or a Slack bot. You can do a lot of different things. That said, it's not like it's leaps and bounds more advanced than rolling your own chatbot. It's still somewhat limited. For instance, you can't do literals or time-delimited stuff. However, you can put in speech, which is very important, and you can modify the models in real time. And one of the interesting parts of Lex is that it's got two kind of separate APIs. So the first API is the model building API. And that API is complex. It has something like 26 different methods. It has a couple of different nouns, and it's complicated to maintain versions, aliases, and all these other things. But when it comes to the runtime API, you only have two different components. And those two different components are the post context or post content. And post content, what that does is it allows you to put in and if you guys are watching on Facebook Live, you should join the Twitch channel. So it'll be twitch.tv/AWS. That's the only chat that I'm monitoring right now. Sorry. So the post content API lets you take audio and post that audio to the Lex endpoint, have it be analyzed, have the natural language processing part done, and sent off to be processed by your Lex bot. The post text endpoint pretty obviously just does text. And with those two components, you can build very complex interactions. Now, within Lex itself, there are a couple of different components. You have slots, and a slot is sort of like a variable. If you've ever worked with an Alexa skill before, a slot is essentially some variable component of text that you expect to be in the input. So that could be a date time, a name, a service name, anything like that. And those slots, you can define your own slot types. So a slot type, it would be like a class in Java. It's your own thing that you're defining. And the way that you define a slot type is you just give a bunch of examples of it. And then the next kind of component are the utterances. And utterances are what you use to get text and stuff into your bot. So to invoke your bot, you have an utterance like, where is Randall, for instance? And that's one kind of example bot. Utterance, sorry. Now, the bot we're building today is going to be fairly simple. It's only going to have a couple of different utterances and no real slot types unless we get kind of further along. And what I want it to do is I want it to sort of be my personal assistant. So I get a lot of I kid you not, my mom is calling. This is really convenient. Are you about to ask me where I am?
Where are you, Randall?
I'm live streaming on Twitch and Facebook, so I've
Wow.
gotta go do that. But I'm talking about the thing that I built to
Cool.
yeah. All right. Bye. Love you.
Okay, bye.
So what we're building today is a robot. That really was my mom calling. That wasn't scripted or planned. I kind of knew she might call, but anyway. Um, the idea is my mom calls a lot and she asks a lot of questions about my health and well-being and where am I because I travel a lot for work. And answering these questions can be a little bit cumbersome. So what I want to do is build a robot that, or a chatbot, that when you ask it where I am, it'll respond with my last Foursquare check-in. And then I'd also like to expand upon that and see if I can allow it to schedule meetings with me. So I've got my kind of work mail calendar and Exchange and all of that other fun stuff set up. And what I want to be able to do is query that, see if there's free time in my calendar, and then respond and let people schedule meetings through the Lex chatbot. So this is sort of what it's going to look like. We're going to have, can everybody see the this Cloudcraft console? Okay, good. So what we're going to do is try to grab, we're going to have a Lambda function, so we'll put this over here. And we're going to have Lex, which I don't think is really in here yet. So we'll just use a text label. That's not what I want. Maybe in block. Yeah. So this block will be called Lex. Is there a way to give this a name? Nope. User. Okay. So there's going to be a client, there's going to be a user, and it's going to interact with a Lambda function through the Lex console, or through the Lex service. I'm just going to call this like, that's not what I want. There's got to be like a, ooh, cool, perfect. Yes, that's what I wanted. Cool. So this is the Lex service here. And we have kind of our user, they're going and talking to Lex. And then Lex is kind of farming out to a bunch of different Lambda functions. And, you know, Lambda's going and talking back to Lex, which is going and talking back to our user. But the way that I'm going to get the location is from Foursquare. So we'll have Foursquare here. Is there a way to rotate this? Yeah. So Foursquare is going to be taking our location, and we're also going to use Dynamo to kind of store that location so that we don't bomb the Foursquare API. So we're going to have a Lambda function that calls out, gets my Foursquare location, stores that in Dynamo, reads it from Dynamo. And maybe this is 2 or 3 Lambda functions. I don't really know yet. But as we build it, we'll find out. But this whole interaction should be really straightforward since I'm only building it for a single user. If I were building it for multiple users, it could be a little bit harder because I'd have to figure out a way of storing the access token for each individual user in DynamoDB and then authenticating and passing in that Cognito ID through with Lex. And it's actually somewhat easy in mobile applications using Mobile Hub. All that stuff comes kind of bundled together for you. But when it comes to building that as a web application, it's a little more cumbersome. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to try and make it talk to Exchange to read my calendar and all that other good stuff. And again, that's probably going to go directly into kind of a Lambda function instead of instead of being all in that central Lambda and instead of going into a database, because the Exchange information, it's more important that it's timely than the Foursquare location information. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a a kind of repo here. And what I'll do is I'll publish everything we do today at the end of this repo onto GitHub. So I'll just go ahead and create that and push the repo live, git push. So I guess I'll create like a basic notebook here, Jupyter notebook. And this is going to be in Python 2, not Python 3, sorry. So we'll create this, and then what do we want to call this? We'll call this Lex Chatbot Experiments. We'll save this, and then we'll say git add Lex. Yep. Let me make this bigger. Git add Lex Chatbot Experiments. Git commit -m added initial notebook. Git push origin master. And so this should be live, and I'll paste the URL, and anything we do today I'll kind of share in that URL. Now our goal here should be to get the individual subcomponents of the bot working first. So that's going to be the location information. That's going to be the DynamoDB storage and retrieval aspect, and then the Lex aspect. So I have a pretty good idea of how to do this already. I've done it a few times before. And I think what'll be better is if I just kind of steam ahead here and show you how it works. So there's a Foursquare library made by my old boss, actually, M. Lewis Logic, who works at Airbnb now. And that Foursquare library, we actually worked on that together back at this company called Spot On. And the reason we made that library is we were using Foursquare check-ins before Foursquare Explorer existed to basically build out a recommendation engine for places. So Foursquare, if anybody remembers, way back in the day, it was just check-ins. It didn't have that explore component. And we kind of built this library to add that explore component at this company called Spot On. And then they changed their name to Fondue, and I don't know. It was a fun time, but this is the library we're going to be using. It's still maintained today. It's pretty powerful and good. So we'll import that library. We're going to import Boto 3 as well. And then we're going to create a DDB client from Boto 3. And I think we'll just do, we can probably create a resource instead of a client. And then we can say table. And I'll have to create a DynamoDB table. We'll call it location info. And I guess we can go ahead and create that DynamoDB table. And what I'm thinking is we'll actually store successive components or successive inserts. And then we'll have like a range key that we can query on. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just keep a single value in there. It doesn't really matter. This is just a hack. So we'll just call this location info. And the ID key will be ID. Yeah. And we'll use the default settings. We don't really need anything else. I guess I could add a sort key, but it doesn't matter. So this is just creating a basic table. DynamoDB is a little bit limited in kind of, I can't really query. I can query, but I have to use the ID. I have to use the index, which if it isn't a helpful kind of thing, you know, kind of SOL there. So we've got this table, and then what we want to do is we want to be able to do like, you know, put item and then the location info in there. And we'll figure out how to do all that in a little bit. But we're basically going to have this method like get location. And what it's going to do is call out to Foursquare. And I don't really remember I don't remember exactly how to get to an individual check-in or anything like that. I think I have it saved somewhere. So I'll go check on that. And while we're waiting for that, what we can do is kind of run what we've built so far. So we'll put in a little pass here. Can you guys see this okay? Is it big enough? We'll run what we've built so far, and I mean, I don't think there'll be any issues with that. But DDB, we can see what the batch complete is, and it's like put item and yeah, all that other stuff. So the difference between the resource in Boto 3 and the client API is the client API is basically just programmatically generated at the time of importing the model file from Boto 3, which is sort of like a JSON file that contains all of the API endpoints and their names, whereas the resource, it has a bunch of different customizations that are specific to Python and other things. So S3, DDB, and a couple other things all have resources. And then the other thing that we're going to use is something called SSM. And SSM is going to be, it's called the Simple Systems Manager, and that's where I store a lot of my API keys. And the reason I store them there is that I can have programmatic access for individual Lambda functions to individual keys within SSM. So if I want my like Foursquare token, or access token, I can say ssm.get. Well, I don't really remember, so let me see. I don't remember half these methods, so I have to kind of guess at them. I think it's get parameters, and then I think we can call help. Get parameters. So we can say get parameters name or names equals I think I named this one Foursquare token, and then with decryption is true, but then I need to provide the key, which I don't know, but we'll figure it out in a little while. And let me just kind of run this in another place really fast to see if this is right. And then it's like parameters 0 value. Cool. So this is how we're going to get our access token. And we'll give the Lambda function that's executing this the ability to access that specific key. Let's see. And keep in mind, like the code that we're doing on the stream isn't what I would consider even remotely close to production. So when you go into running all of this stuff in prod, you want to consider more professional credential management and stuff like that. Don't just like willy-nilly apply. Don't rely on this being in position 0. Like create like a little handler called get credentials and stuff like that, and have it be responsible for doing the KMS encryption, decryption of those components. So we're gonna do this whole get location thing, and it should be pretty straightforward, but just in case it's not, so we're gonna say Foursquare. We're gonna say Foursquare client equals Foursquare access token equals access token. And then it takes other parameters, which is why I think I have to pass this in as like the keyword arg. So we're gonna have this get location thing, and this get location thing is gonna say check-in equals Foursquare client. Well, we can, let's try this all first. Access token is not defined. So Foursquare client dot get dot users. Yeah, okay. And then I don't know if it's all check-ins or just check-ins, but we call check-ins, and then we say params equals limit of 1 because we only want the latest one, and we call check-ins, and I don't remember what the rest of it is, so it'll be items, and it'll be 0. And this will be our check-in document. So then the check-in has a lot of cool stuff in it. But the things that we're most interested in are the lat and the long and the venue name, venue. So we kind of want to build like a dictionary from this. Like name is going to be check-in. Name, and then the location is going to be this like array of check-in, location, lat, check-in, location, long, and a timestamp. TS. And the timestamp is going to be check-in created at. And this is actually going to be venue name. So what did I do wrong here? Location doesn't exist. Key name location doesn't exist. Oh, I think it's because it's check-in venue location. Okay, venue. Cool. So the last place I was at was where I went for lunch, which was ROC. And just to prove that this is working, so we'll tie this all together. We'll create our little method here. Def get location. And we'll build in the caching and everything in just a second. So we'll take this, we'll put this here, and we'll say return, return this little shindig. But with better indentation. Don't program like I program. Cool. And then we'll call get location. And I'm going to check in somewhere else just to prove that this is working. I'll say I'm at the WeWork Playa Vista. We'll run this. And it works. Cool. So the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out some way of caching this information. And what that'll mean is we want to look at DynamoDB and kind of get, we want to store this object in Dynamo, and we want to get some idea of how old that object is. So to do that, I'll just do like import time. And I can never remember the best way to get time stamps in Python. Import time, time.time. Is that right? Or is it time.now? Because one's JavaScript and one's, real life. Okay, so time.time. And, we'll make that an int. So basically, we'll just build this little caching handler where we say ddb dot get item location location equals if so we'll say now equals time.time, and if let's see, we'll say if location Well, let's put something in there first. So let's do like ddb.put item key equals ID location. I don't even remember how to call put item. DynamoDB is sometimes like not a real database. Help ddb.put item. Oh my god, that's way too much info. JSON data format. Great. Okay, I don't want to deal with this right now. So, we're just gonna say put item, and then JSON is gonna be get location, and then we'll say like import JSON. Let's just see if it works as a dictionary. I don't think it'll work as a dictionary, but we'll try it. Yeah, of course it didn't work. Use decimal types instead. Damn it. JSON.dump_s. Cool. And then if we go ddb.get item key equals ID location, then we get our whole like JSON string back, and we can just decode it. And this is not the most efficient way of storing it, but this is just like a cheat little cache thing that we're doing anyway, so it doesn't matter. So now that we have all of this, the other thing that I want to do is I want to put in a timestamp. So how do I, one more item here. We'll call this TS and we'll say time.time, and then we're going to like int this. Cool. Cool. So then when we call ddb.getItem, key equals sorry, 1 second. Hello? And never mind. Key equals, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Getting foot surgery. Location. So key ID is going to be location, and we'll just call like item. Otherwise, we should fail. So we can always rely on that being there. And we want to do like JSON. Okay, so I need to import JSON. Import JSON. So the first thing we want to do is if I'm going to call this item actually. Item's not a reserved keyword, I don't think. If item TS plus, should I say every 5 minutes we get a new one? So if item TS plus 300 is less than now, return JSON dump or loads location item JSON. So that says if the timestamp that we recorded at plus 5 minutes is still less than now, then do this. Otherwise, we want to load the new check-in again and process all this. Put all this stuff in. So then we say ddb.put item. And again, like, please don't think that this is the way I would actually go about doing all of this. We're just trying to build a really super basic caching thing right now. Item, ID. So where's that put item thing that I did earlier? This thing. And we'll call this check-in item. And we'll say json.dumps. Dumps. And then we can say check-in item. And we can just reuse now. Cast this to an int. And then we return check-in item. Is that right? I think that's more or less right, except I've decided I don't want to return the JSON just yet. So we'll do this down here. So json.dump check-in item. Cool. So that's our little get location thing. Get location. Parameter validation error. Missing required item in input. DDB to put item. Oh, that's why. I've got put item twice. Is this boring everybody to tears? I haven't seen any chat messages or anything, so. So we'll call get location again. And we work Playa Vista. And so the ideal way of doing this would actually be to include the Foursquare push notification. So Foursquare has an API where, well, thank you, Christopher Burns, for the chat message. I appreciate that. And thank you, Gina Clementi, for your chat message. So we have in the Foursquare API a push notification service. So you can actually create an endpoint that receives information about your latest check-in, and then that would be what we would put into DynamoDB. And I'm going to move my microphone to the side here. Can you guys still hear me okay, even if the microphone's all the way over there? I hope so. And basically what happens here is that endpoint, every time you check in, Foursquare will create a notification on your behalf to that endpoint that contains the check-in. And that would be when you would want to update DynamoDB, because then you could just pull from DynamoDB every single time you have that chat message. But I can't get that working because, unfortunately, Foursquare's little push notification console has been broken for like 2 years, and I've reached out to everybody, and like I can't get anybody to help me fix it. So if you guys know somebody at Foursquare who I could like chat with to try and fix that, I would love to talk to them, because it's been broken for forever, and I'm just real bummed about that. Okay, so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these other things, and we'll save this one. So this is kind of like how far we've gotten so far. And the next thing we want to do is we want to have kind of like a Lambda handler. So Lambda handler will take an event and a context object. You guys have seen all this before. Yeah, I'm real sorry about the Python 2 stuff dying, Pita. I would love to do it in Python 3, but unfortunately not all the libraries that I want to use today support Python 3 yet. Looking at you, Foursquare library. Although maybe it does. I haven't checked in a while. But we want to be able to take that location information that we've just created and return it through Lex. So I think now is a good time to kind of start looking at Lex. So I think I have another tab open here called Amazon Lex. And we're just going to create a new bot. And you guys can see here that there are a bunch of different sample applications. And, you know, one is like, I'd like to book a hotel. Okay, sure. What city? And that book trip, that book hotel is kind of an intent. That's what the customer or user is trying to do. And the utterance for the intent is, I'd like to book a hotel, or, hey, can I book a hotel, please? Those are all kind of sample utterances that fulfill the same intent. And then you ask additional prompts, and Lex will do all this for you. So it'll say, okay, sure, which city? And that's a slot type. That thing that it's eliciting a response for is a slot type. And then the slot itself would be, you know, city. And that's data that the user provides to complete the intent, to fulfill the intent. Excuse me. Pardon me. So then we fulfill the intent with a Lambda function, or really we could do anything. And it says, are you sure you want to book the hotel in New York City? Yes. And then it says, thank you, blah, 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 blah. But what we're going to do is we're just going to create kind of a custom bot. And we're going to call this Randall Assist, or we're going to call it Randall Assistant. And we're going to have an output voice of Joanna, I guess.
Hello, this is Randall. This is Randall.
Hello, this is Randall. Hello, this is Randall.
This stream will be published here, and then it will be published on YouTube shortly after that. What voice should I use? Do you guys have a vote? We've got Joanna, Sally, Kimberly, Kendra, Justin, Joey, and Ivy. Justin
Hello,
voice is terrifying, so I don't really want to use that.
Hello, this is Randall.
I think Justin belongs in the ring.
This is Randall.
Joey is very robotic.
Hello, this is Randall.
Ivy is very robotic.
Hello, this is Randall. Hello, this is Randall.
I don't see Emma available. Sorry. Kimberly.
Hello, this is Randall.
Sally.
Hello, this is Randall.
Hello, this is Randall.
I think we'll stick with Joanna just because it seems the least robotic to me right now. And we'll have a session timeout of like 1 minute. We don't really have a session, so. And is this child directed? No, we're not trying to work with children unless I guess it doesn't really matter. So we don't have any really intents or anything, so I can't send anything to it yet. I can't build, I can't publish, but so David MCO65 says no Justin. So in streams in the past we've worked with Justin, and the Justin voice just hurts. So the idea here is to build sorry, 1 second. I just got a notification that there's like an issue on the stream with like the layout, and I think that's just because my Mac doesn't support the correct resolution for Twitch. Like my Mac doesn't scale down to my Mac doesn't scale down to the 720p resolution very well. So I'm sorry if you guys see the big black bars on the side. I don't really have a way of fixing that, unfortunately. Especially not now that I'm already streaming, but I'll try and get it working over the next week or so. Are the voice and video still off significantly, or is it just a bit? I can keep talking so that you can try to figure that out. But essentially what we're going to do and I think that so Justin Benjamin, I think you're watching, and I can't actually change it to B720p on my Mac. So OBS doesn't support that output resolution for my screen. So it's 3 or 4 seconds out. So one of the issues is probably that I'm simultaneously streaming to Facebook and Twitch. So it could be like Nginx, which is where I'm streaming through, is having some issues keeping everything synced up. And I'm glad that some of you aren't seeing black bars, but I think we'll just have to deal with all of those issues for now. And I'll try and fix it by our next broadcast on the 18th. So on the 18th, I will actually be live streaming with kind of like a studio audience, because I'm going to be presenting to the Los Angeles Tech and Motion meetup, and I'm just going to run through a bunch of different random demos, and we're going to try and get through like 12 demos in 20 minutes. And if you guys want to participate in that, I think it'll be fun on the 18th. But getting back into things here, what we're going to do is create an intent, and that intent is going to be the thing that we want to fulfill. And for now, that intent is just going to be grab location, or get location. And we're going to create a couple sample utterances for that intent. So what are some ways that you would ask somebody where they are? Anybody? I think, where are you? Where can I find you today? And where is he? Where you at? Francesco wants us to say, where you at? Where are you now? What's your location? In the Army, they used to say something like, what's your 40? Which is like, what's your 40? It's like, what's your location? What's your 20? Is what's your location? So I'll say that too. What's your 20? And then I'll add lock as well. Okay, so these sample intents that we've created, what they're going to do is they're going to be part of this little machine learning model. It's a little model that is able to respond and fulfill our kind of component here. And for now, we're not going to do anything. Operation in progress. Weird. The console is a little strange sometimes. I don't know why it's saying that there's a conflicting operation in progress. But if we hop over here to this kind of test area, I'm going to turn off the image for now. Oh, my green screen is a little messed up here. How's that? So we're waiting for this to build. There's conflicting operation in progress already. What is going on? No intent. This console is completely insane. It needs to be unique to your account. What is going on? It's really frustrating that I'm not able to do this. I'm gonna like email the Lex team and be like, hey, I'm trying to do a live stream and your console is crap. Where are you? Let me just try and create a new intent. There's a conflicting. I mean, this is just unreal. Like, this thing is unusable. Let me clear like my whole cache and everything, because that's probably what it is. Chrome. So we'll go back to this. I have to sign in again. I hope you guys can still see the stream. Come on. This is why you should just always use a an API instead of trying to use some console. Like these consoles, custom AWS sign-in URL. This is not what I wanted. I am custom sign-in URL. randhunt.signin.aws.amazon.com/console. There we go. The dashboard certainly helps, but you know, it only helps if it works, which in this case it doesn't. Like there's still this conflicting operation in progress for the resource named Randall Assistant. Like let's try this again. Say Joanna.
Hello, my name is Joanna.
I'll create an intent. Get location 3. Where are you? And I'll save the intent. And again, there's a conflicting operation in progress. I mean, well, I guess we can build it through the API. I mean, holy shit. I don't even know what's, like, I can't believe this isn't working. Bad request. There's a conflict. What is the conflict? Am I just supposed to wait? What do you guys think? I'm happy to like call the PM for Lex right now, like on the phone, and complain about this. This is unreal. Like, we can work with one I've already created potentially. Like, what? I wonder what'll happen if I try and save something there. So let me try and edit this. So, sorry, I'm so frustrated. It's just, like, it should work. The fact that it doesn't reflects very poorly on Amazon. And me. Never had an issue building this stuff before. Where... So if I create a new intent now, what happens? Get location. Yeah, there's some kind of stupid bullshit happening right now with the Lex service, and of resource name book hotel. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not hiding it either, and trust me, I'm not gonna hide it when I go and like email this PM later, because this is like the status thing doesn't say anything, right? And I'll probably look like an idiot because it's probably me that doesn't actually know how to use the service, but the fact that there's like no indication of what's happening is just absolutely infuriating, and it can't go on like this. It's unreal. But let's focus back and go back to the console. I don't even remember what regions Lex is in. I think it's just in North Virginia right now. I need a glass of something. And then we're going to go back to the Python, because I think the Python is more fun to work with than screwing around on the console anyway. So... I'm going to pour some scotch. And the model building API seems to still be responding. I can modify existing intents. I can, where are you at? If I add this and then I go to build, like this is working. It's just the new, the checksum doesn't match. resource for where we're in. Essentially, we can go back to working on the Python side of this. So in order to work on the Python side of this, we have to know what the inbound event looks like. So what we can do to figure that out is we can try and look up a sample event from Lex. So we can say sample event Lex. There's this really great page. If you're ever building a Lambda function, I strongly recommend this page, this event sources one. It has all the different kind of sample events that you can expect. So this is what we're dealing with here. So we got kind of like a message version, an invocation source, and that'll be the fulfillment code hook or dialog code hook. We get a user ID. We get session attributes. We get the bot name, the bot alias, the bot version. We get the output dialog mode. And the really cool thing about this is, like, depending on the alias, you're able to change the response that you give to sorry, people are trying to tell me what's going on with the Lex service now. I'm trying to figure it out too. So we have like these output dialog modes, and for most things, all we're really going to care about is text. I have this library called BabyLex that you can use. And that is here. And BabyLex isn't really required anymore now that Bodo has their own kind of post content things, but it makes it a little bit easier to interact with the Lex API. So if you're just trying to build something into a channel that Lex doesn't support yet, you can check out that library. But basically what we need to do now is parse this event. And we're going to get the current intent. Do you know of any real-world examples of companies using Lex? Yeah, so if you go to the console, or if you go to the Lex page on AWS, it has a list of like customer use cases and stuff. And I mean, it's a very powerful product. I'm really surprised it's not working right now. I haven't had any trouble with it in the past few weeks. So Ohio Health seems to be one of the referenced customers. Capital One, HubSpot, NASA, and I mean, I know of plenty of others too. I've worked with a lot of people on Lex. It's a really powerful and fun service. And I really just wish it was working. So current intent, and basically we're going to say if this matches where Randall, or get location, we can say if event current intent name equals get location, then we go and we do our processing and building of things, and we can solicit more responses and stuff like that. And then we got to figure out what the response objects look like. And it should be really, really straightforward, because I think we're just going to have kind of like this dialogue. I'll use dialogue action, and it's going to be another kind of object. So I'll just put a return in front of this. Return type of close, because it's going to be fulfilled. So we want to like close out the conversation. We don't want to continue the session. And we'll say the fulfillment state. So fulfillment So there are a couple different types of responses within the dialog action. And so one can be close, one can be elicit or solicit more information. And the fulfillment state is also indicative of whether or not the intent has been fulfilled, and the type is kind of like, has this, are all the slots satisfied, all this other stuff. So we go to the fulfillment state, we go to message, content type, plain text, and we're going to say content is just going to be, some message or something. And the message is going to be constructed from location equals get location. And then we're going to construct this message by saying, Randall, so message equals Randall was last at variable 1 at variable time dot format location, and I'm going to call this lock instead so that you guys can see the whole thing. Location, name, and then location TS. And we can kind of humanize that a little bit later. But this alone should be enough to fulfill our Lex bot. And we probably don't need anything else. So this is our whole Lambda function here. And we don't need really anything else. So we can deploy this. Autosave failed. 403 forbidden. So I'm gonna sorry, I have to restart the notebook. When I cleared my whole cache, everything went away. No worries, it's not too hard to do. Cool. So basically, if I call Lambda handler with current, yes, Jupyter, Indigo Lord is asking what Jupyter is. Jupyter is what IPython notebooks used to be. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to create this current intent name get location, and we don't really care about any of the other parameters. And I'll pass in like a dummy thing. Spelling is important. Intent. And we get our little response back. And some of the power of all of this comes in when you're able to hook it in to the other services. So I can't demonstrate wiring everything up right now just because it doesn't seem like it's working. So what I can do is I can show you how it all works. Where are you? So to wire this into Facebook Messenger takes all of 5 minutes. To wire it into Twilio takes all of 5 minutes. And there's some other components of it that are really, really cool, like Amazon Connect. So Amazon Connect, for those of you who aren't aware, is like build your own call center. And build your own call center, and you can kind of define how the data flows through it. So if we look at the kind of contact flows here, I'm going to show you one called Demo Flow. And what Demo Flow does is I set a voice, Joanna in this case, and then I call out to this where is Randall intent within Lex, and it'll kind of fire off these prompts that'll ask where I am, and then it'll end up with, thanks for calling. And to demonstrate this, we can actually make the call. So we can actually do that now.
Ask me where I am.
Where are you?
Randall was last at WeWork Playa Vista 42 minutes ago. Thanks for calling.
And to make that happen took absolutely no additional code changes. It was just that code. So it's literally like it's this code that I'm showing you now, and I can respond to Messenger, to Twilio, to Twitter, to all manner of things. And I'm going to try one more time to see if we can build things. Has anybody else been trying to follow along with Lex and get one of these building? Anybody had any luck with that? Nope. Conflicting operation in progress. Okay, well, I think we'll go to the QA portion of this. So if you guys have any questions, I can happily demonstrate. So I'm happy to go over like Amazon Connect or Lex or any of these other things. I'm sorry that I can't demonstrate more of Lex working. This is definitely our fault, and we will do our best to fix it. I'm sorry that the rest of you are encountering errors as well. Sometimes with these new services that are deployed in just one availability zone or within just one region, there can be issues as they roll out. I don't know if Lex is still in like open preview or not, but I'm pretty sure it's GA because I don't really see anything that says open preview or anything like that. So there, let's look at the Lex API for a second. So if we go to this API reference section, so Francisco Rizzi has a question about the aliases. So bots have aliases, and the aliases are typically used, and Lil Etsy asked if past broadcasts stay on this channel. They do for a couple of days, 60 days or so, and then they go out to YouTube. So you can watch all of these past broadcasts on YouTube, although we'll probably edit out my swearing and yelling and screaming about Lex not working right now. So you only get that if you join live. So here's the Lex API. As I said before, it's split into kind of two different sections. There's the model building service API, and then there's the runtime service API. And the runtime service API is actually super straightforward. If you're ever trying to build something that interacts with Lex, even though it's not a supported channel, so Twitter right now is not a supported channel, but if you go to Twitter and you say, where is Randall, it will respond because I can just call out to these APIs, this post content and post text one. So the aliases, I would typically use those to refer to production or dev or something like that. And then the versions are more like the most recently deployed. So version for me is almost always going to be latest because I just work in production. But for those of you who have got robots or chatbots that are deployed truly to production, you should, have version 1, version 2, 2 point whatever, and you should refer to things like that. So this page here kind of outlines all of the, so Francesco, that outlines kind of versioning and aliasing with regards to Lex. And then Fruvman asks, how do you handle ambiguous answers, such as a bot may ask, where would you like to go? And a person may respond, city. Or I want to go to city. Or I would like to travel to city. And Fruvman, it can actually handle those responses. So when you're soliciting input for a slot type, have you looked at the book hotel cancel? Or sorry, have you looked at the book hotel intent? It'll say city is one of the things, and it will go through and say, you can say, I want to go to New York City. So it will extract New York City as the portion that fulfills the slot type. So it doesn't just take blanket input. So it's not like Whobot or one of these more structured robots where that's the only thing you're allowed to do. You can give full English conversational sentences and it will respond. Does that answer your question, Fruvman? And then the other really powerful component is the ability to build rich interactions with very, very easily with Messenger or Twilio or any of these other things, or Slack, for example. So all of these different services, they have, Slack has the buttons you can click and it has the widgets that you can embed. And Messenger on Facebook, it has the same sort of stuff where you can click yes, you can click no, all this other stuff. And we have a hackathon going on right now, chatbot hackathon dev post, and I'll post the link to that. So it's awschatbot.devpost.com, and I'm not sure when this ends, but I do know it started a few days ago. But the winners get tickets to reInvent, which is pretty fun. I strongly recommend coming to reInvent. So check out the hackathon, play around with all of that. I'm going to go ahead and publish the notebook that we created today. One of the cool things in the notebook is the use of SSM, Simple Systems Manager, to get tokens. So I'll go ahead and push that now. And then I'm going to get offline and stop wasting your time. Somewhat related question. Say you deploy a chatbot to Messenger and you want the chatbot to activate when a person is in a certain area. Which domains are the APIs that you want to be using? Messenger, the device? Can you do that sort of thing? So the push notification thing on behalf of the Messenger, I don't really know how you would do that, because that would not be through the Lex API. You wouldn't be able to, because Lex is the maintainer of the session, you would have to initiate the session through kind of a third-party API. So you would be hosting and running something somewhere that, whenever the user got to a certain location, is that in GitHub? Yes, that's Git. So git commit-m, updates for Lex, origin master, hub, browse. Cool. So you guys can check out the little IPython notebook there. Hopefully it'll help you out. So to finish answering Indigo Lord's question of how you would kind of respond to people when they're within a certain location, there's no good way of doing that, right? Because you don't have access to their location information unless they've installed an app that you own on their phone and you're posting that to some endpoint. Then you could initiate a chat with a push notification or something like that. But again, you're still running into an issue of how often can you pull for location, what's the right thing to do. I would say it would be much easier with an embedded mobile app. So if you go to Mobile Hub and kind of put a chatbot together through there, you can also create kind of call-outs within iOS at least. You can call out pretty easily to the location API and make periodic posts to some endpoint And if a person arrives in a certain like geofence location, you can shoot them a push notification that says, "Hey, we noticed you're in this location. Do you want to talk with a customer sales service representative?" And I think brands in particular could take huge advantage of this. And I think Foursquare is particularly well positioned to be able to do that sort of stuff, because imagine you have your iPhone and you walk into Hertz, like the car rental place, and rather than waiting in line, you get a little notification on your phone that says, "Hey, we noticed you're at Hertz. Are you trying to rent a car today?" Or we also, noticed because you have our app on your phone that your car is in this location. Do you have any questions? And then you can like chat with the bot and get all your stuff without ever having to interact with a customer service person. Not that interacting with a customer service person is bad. It's just in terms of efficiency, you would be able to do that. So the opportunity and the impetus is really on the app owners and not so much on third-party service providers. So I don't see any way for like a third party to swoop in and interact with a bunch of different like apps. So and then Panera app might finally be able to guess the location I want to pick up the order from. Chick-fil-A also has an app, and they do some location-based stuff. And then Let's ask what the machine learning episode is about. And do you know what day that one is? I don't know our schedule, sorry, but I imagine it'll be about machine learning. Hopefully about MXNet, maybe a little bit about the Amazon machine learning service. Anything else? We got maybe 2 more minutes for questions, and I'm going to close it all down here. So I'll post this one more time for you guys. I'm really sorry the Lex service doesn't seem to be working. I will do my best to try and figure that out, and hopefully we can demo this again sometime. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much. I hope you had a good time. I'll see you next time. I'll see you on the 18th.